welcome for another Holistic Creative Chat. And this week's guest is creativity catalyst and transformational coach and writer, Daley of unabashedlyfemale.com. I'm so honored to have you here to do one of these little chats about creative process and healing with us. Thank you, Julie.
It's exciting to be here, and it's so exciting to see you, to see you moving and talking.
The animated self, yes.
For the first time.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
Get a sense of you.
Mm-hmm. So these discussions, I normally just start off by asking you to tell us a little bit about what your creative practice is looking like for you right now.
My creative practice, that's a good question. That's such a good question. That my most foundational creative practice is dance. Mm-hmm. I dance anywhere between 1 to 3 times a week, doing 5 rhythms. Yeah. The group I'm with used to be 5 rhythms based. It's now called Open Floor, but it's pretty much very similar, a moving meditation. Mm-hmm. And it's really been, I started doing it at the same time I started teaching this work, creativity in business, and doing the coaching work that I do. So it's been a foundational piece for me to know how to be with what's right here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so to me, that's what creativity is about. It's not only who we are in our nature, but it's the ability to access this moment just as it is, which can be a little frightening when you really settle into that. So dance would be my first answer. Meditation, I think, is a key piece for me, quieting the mind and just being here. And then writing right now, and some painting, not as much painting as I would like to be doing, but some, and drawing. So.
Yeah. Wonderful. I love that you are so passionate about dance and 5 rhythms in particular. It was a program I discovered a few years ago when I was coming back into my art and changing around my whole life to try to see what it would look like if I pursued my creative, callings as a livelihood as well. Mm-hmm. And that dance class that I took for that season was pivotal for me.
It was.
In weaving together all the threads of the different pieces, like what you're saying, whether you do writing or meditation and painting, and I do all those as well, but it brought such a level of self-awareness to the moment, like you're saying. So powerful to settle back into our bodies as a creative practice and move them too, literally engage with that.
Yeah, because the body's in the present moment.
Yeah.
I mean, it can't not be.
It's not going to lie to you about the present moment that you're in.
No, and it can't be in the future or past. It's physical, right? It's right here. It's just where we jump to. So to me, that was a big piece. And then the ability to just move my feelings. Because it helped me to really see that they're just energy.
Yes.
They're just energy. So of course they want to move.
And and how does it feel when you express it, or how does it feel when you go into the discomfort of some of those and explore that a little and help it get flowing again, if it's a stuckness or one way of seeing things or one way of showing up. And
Well, and you just said something that I thought of something that I don't think I've ever seen it this way before. That in dance, in my dance and in meditation as well, it's like being with what's here as a creative practice. And so I've noticed in my writing, in the times when I write, not just what I think are beautiful or good things, but like really gnarly, sticky, yucky things, or when I paint gnarly, sticky, yucky things, those are just as valid as a painting that you think is pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. And they definitely, I know, like the movement piece for me was just, it was so pivotal, and exactly what you're saying too, but is like, even well in writing too, and finding the full expression of those icky, ucky, messy things. And then what do we do with it? Because sometimes that's where we get stuck, is like, oh, we have it, and then we're like, oh, we're contracting, and then it's like, well, you have to do something you haven't done before, or you have to do something you have done before, because you know that it opens that channel a little bit and starts the flow again, but you get to
Yeah.
choose. So it's like a risk taking piece. And when you're
Mm.
literally moving your body, particularly like being in a space that you're sharing with others,
Hmm.
you confront so many pieces of yourself that,
Oh my God, yes.
oh my gosh, that show up when you paint, when you write, and when in every relationship you have as well. And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that piece is huge.
When I dance Sunday mornings, there's anywhere between 130 to 150 people in this gym
Wow.
dancing for 2 hours straight together with no talking, just music and expressing through the body. So yeah, 150, 149 other people, you're running into a lot of people you like, you're attracted to, people you're not so attracted to, or, you don't want to dance with necessarily, but
Right.
they're right there.
Yeah.
It's quite an amazing, amazing practice. So.
Absolutely. So, with your creative practices, do you find that what's your rhythm like? Do you find that you touch in with one or some of your creative practices every day, or is it kind of hit or miss for you? The sort of pace and rhythm thing is an interesting piece for people that are trying
Yeah.
to fit creative practice into their busy lives. So, what does that look like for you?
I think, that is a really important question, and it's one I struggle with because I want to write every day and I don't.
Yeah.
And so I can beat myself up about that, which isn't helpful because that certainly doesn't make me write. um, and then I found that especially through doing this new writing group I've got, Writing Raw, what I find in the times when I'm not actually feel like I'm writing on my keyboard, actually producing, which is an interesting word around creativity.
Right.
But I got these composition notebooks for $1 a piece, and it's what I write in when I'm holding my calls. And so I'll just get that out, and I'll get a pen, and I'll sit and I'll just write an impromptu poem that's 1 page long. And it's what I love about the practice that I'm developing of writing raw is it's just putting it's like if I were to relate it to dance and I'm hearing a particular piece of music and I feel my hand just want to go, just like move like that, just that. That's what writing on the page for 5 minutes is. It's just capturing that.
Yeah.
So it cuts through my mind telling me that if I'm going to write every day, it's got to be 2,000 words. It's got to be on my computer. It's got to be part of the book I'm writing, or got to be a blog post, or it's got to be something usable. Just the act of doing that touches me right back into this moment and expression. That's all it is. Yeah. And so that I do every day. Yeah. I come to this point of expression, whether it's with my pen or whether it's with a brush or whether it's on my yoga mat or it's on the dance floor or it's in this chair that I meditate in. That is a daily thing to come back to this. And it amazes me how accessible it is right now through the body. That's what I crave. That's what I crave. So however it comes out, whatever medium I'm doing it through, in some ways isn't important. And yet, because my livelihood depends upon it as well, it is important. So there's the two together. It's like two different sort of practices. That makes sense.
Absolutely. I love that I do this in my own way as well. I think it's a simple gesture, a simple expression, and coming to that each day. And I love that it doesn't have to have the agenda behind it. The idea is to just come to it. And I do that with painting a lot through my creative journaling process. So,
Mm.
even if, and I tell people when they're struggling with what that's supposed to look like, or do I have to do 30 minutes every morning, first thing, blah, blah, blah. Even that can be so much sometimes.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, even if you open the page and you sit there and you're zoning out for a while, or you just, so that's sometimes what we need in our creative process. Or you open the page and you write the one line or the one word that you can't get out of your head, or you move the one color, just one stroke, and that's it, and you only had 3 minutes, and then you got to go and do the things for your daily life. Even that is like coming, well, and what just came to my mind, I love it, coming to the temple, which is that
Yeah.
is touching in, and that's so precious and valuable, and that's what I hear you saying, and it's what I find as well. And so I just wanted to just give a second vote for that, because it's really life-changing for somebody who's trying to consciously engage with their creative process and how that affects all of their life.
Right.
So,
Absolutely. And just that can be the catalyst.
yeah.
Right. As soon as you give it 5 seconds or 10 seconds or 60 seconds and you give it a little breath, what I find happens is that then I go a little deeper.
Yep.
Right. It's just starting.
Yeah.
It's just entering
Right.
that temple, entering the unknown, just starting.
Yeah.
Is all that is really required.
And
And that
that's
can be the hardest part.
It is, and it's such I love it that we just came here so organically, because that's such a beautiful segue into what you're offering for Spectrum this year,
Right.
which is how to enter the creative known, the sacred temple within, and you're going to address that very thing, the starting
Yeah.
point, and that even as people who have a creative practice, or for years, or who have spent decades of their life doing their art form or whatever that be, it's always the starting point that is often the place we have to come back to around again, and that we often get stuck at again, and then moving through that beginner's mind and moving through the actual engagement and activation with our bodies
Yeah.
into that starting point. So
Yeah. Yeah. It's that's what I found, that the course I teach is creativity. It's based on a course called Creativity in Business that was at the business school. So it sounds like it's all about business, but it's really a Trojan horse to get spirit and soul into the
Yeah.
business world, right?
Yeah.
And so it's all about coming to know again that your nature is creative, and that it's your essential nature. So we talk about essence. And what I found, I've worked with students there at Stanford. I worked with people affected by 9/11. Just recently, I worked in Newtown, Connecticut with people affected by the Sandy Hook shootings.
Yeah.
I worked with people online. I worked with individuals. And it's really about this relationship. What is my relationship with the unknown, with the mystery? Because ultimately, that's what we're afraid of.
Absolutely.
And the more you deepen that trust, and the more you come to see that that's who you really are, you are the mystery. It's like, oh, I'm really fighting my relationship with myself.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
and I don't even really know who I am. There's the mystery, right?
Absolutely.
And so what we come up against in that moment is all of our ways we've tried to avoid ourselves. And even teaching this time, I still try to avoid myself. So it's not like it's something you're doing wrong. I think it's just part of what it is. It's just part of what it is. That's why every time you come back to that moment, it's just part of what it is. You just have to feel that.
Isn't that it right there? Like, I think, to me, like, that's what I always come back to, is like, that's really what it is we're supposed to be feeling that confrontation with the mystery, that dance with it, is how I like to think of it. So back to that dance thing too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and we see it in one another. We see it in all the things we do, all the roles we take on and we put on ourselves. And I love how you said that really it's what we find in ourselves when we're asking that great question, who am I? And I know, like, and I bring this up all the time because it's so relevant, I think, but, the work that I did in hospice with people, if there's any one thing that every one of us faces, if we have the, that blessed gift of awareness when we're very close to the end of our life is that confrontation with the mystery and the unknown of who we are. And I've seen people, that work through that. In a way that has great suffering. And
Yeah.
I've seen people work through that in a way where there's great peace. And even in the moment of death, they are healed.
Yeah.
And I think it all has to do with the way we choose to confront and witness that mystery in ourselves and each other.
And yeah, and I think absolutely. I mean, I love that you mentioned that about death, because that's what it feels like it is. It's a mini death
Yeah.
when you sit down to create. It's a mini death.
Yeah.
We die to ourselves. We die to what is going to show up on the canvas or on the dance floor. And it's that relationship then to begin to shift it from perhaps a kind of confrontation to love. It really
Yeah.
is. It really is love meeting us. And
Absolutely.
sometimes love isn't always soft. Sometimes love will take us and wring us out.
Yeah.
So
Be
we
so
actually,
fierce.
yeah. So we get to see who we really are. It strips a lot. It strips a lot away. So,
Mm-hmm.
um,
So that brings me to the question I ask everybody, which is Julie, how do you define healing today?
that's a really good question. That's a really good question. Um, I don't know. I've done an interesting dance with the word healing
Mm-hmm.
in my own life. I think healing can be seen in a lot of different ways. And I think we've been moving, I'll just say I've been moving, and maybe it's a culture too, but I've been moving from healing as something that has to happen because I was once broken
Mm-hmm.
to healing as a remembering of my nature. Um, it's sort of that paradox of, on somewhere we think we're wounded, and perhaps on a human level we are, but on a spirit level we've forgotten. And I suppose the soul can be wounded. I don't know. I don't know that I could give you the answer on that, but I think it's a question. Somewhere I think we've always been whole and nothing's wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then on some level, the wounding or the where we've been hurt or where we think we're broken is more of just a forgetting.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I
Um,
love that. The remembering. Mm-hmm. I felt a spaciousness instantly when you said
oh,
that.
you did?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah. And I and I don't. It's not either one. I think that's what I'm really learning is
Yeah.
that it's all of it.
Mm-hmm.
We can be in different ways of looking at it. Um, and I think of like healing, and I think of the planet and our bodies. And and I remember when my mother was dying of cancer, and once she was in palliative care, she went to a different doctor who was, oh, this doctor was amazing. And he really brought up the difference between curing and healing,
Yeah.
which I would imagine from
Oh,
working
yeah.
in hospice, right? A
Mm-hmm.
big difference. Um, and so I think that's the movement that I'm feeling is like on a physical level, we can be cured.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose. I don't think I believe anything 100% anymore, but
Yeah, I hear you.
it's just a way to talk about it, right? But
Yep.
at the same time, there's a healing that can happen when we can't ever be cured, when we're dying. But there's a healing that happens in how we've come to see ourselves, and going back then again to that moment of death.
Mm-hmm.
Of how are we meeting that?
Yeah. And our essence. I hear what you said earlier ringing through too. Our essence.
Right,
Yeah.
right. So creativity. I mean, I know working with the 9/11 families and working in Newtown. I think the healing that the course I teach offers is is a shift in how you see your relationship with the mystery. So if you've gone through something really deeply traumatic, it can really rattle your sense of safety in the world, your sense of who you are, your ability to navigate. But if we know deep inside that, I mean, what I basically, all I do is hold a container that I know that you have everything you need to navigate whatever life brings your way. So I hold that in a knowing way because I've learned that in my own life. And I think that's an aspect of healing.
Mm-hmm.
That when we come to feel that, we come to know ourselves as essence, as this huge, big, beautiful, infinite, whatever, then that relationship with life it is like a dance.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, I know you might be bringing me, whatever it is, right? More that feels like it's more than I can handle. And yet I trust you. I trust that you're bringing me what I need to remember who I am. Mm. That's the best way I can describe it.
That's beautiful.
And I'm still in that dance, even though I know all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'll forget it again.
Yeah, you'll feel all the things that feel like detached from that knowing. Like
I'll forget it again. And then I sit down at the canvas or on the dance floor or the pad of paper or the cushion, and it's like, oh, okay.
I remember.
I remember. And somewhere I know inside of me that I will remember again at some point.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's all that I need. I will remember.
Yeah.
And yeah.
That's beautiful. I feel like that's the grace of getting to a point. I'm finally at a point where I can say I have some years behind me, you know? Like, and so we get to realize that we'll remember again, you know?
And again. And again.
And again, yeah. Oh, Julie, thank you so much. I feel all, ooh, yeah. Thank you. And thank you everybody for listening in as well.
Yes, thank you.